Wouldn't it be great to search for your origin and destination on a website and be presented with a list of possible travel modes in a door-to-door itinerary? What if you could simply select your preferred itinerary and have it on a single ticket? Always Travelling Consortium technology partners Amadeus, Benarail, Thales and IATA have worked on an EC-funded project to prove that such a multimodal travel is technologically feasible, despite several challenges, such as access to data, interoperability, and shopping response time. They showcase the outcome to members of DG Move from the European Commission in a preview of what could become the normal way of shopping and purchasing European travel in the future. At the NS Centre and Test Laboratory in Utrecht, Netherlands, the consortium members shared 3 proofs of concept. A one-stop shop website for planning and purchasing multimodal travel. Unique on the market. The integration of urban public transport services with long-distance transport modes, air and rail. One of the main technological challenges. Advanced multimodal disruption management and notification system informing the traveller along his journey. Advanced notification system for seamless travel across modes. AWT delivers mobility as a service. AWT showcases John Smith, an Amsterdam citizen who is booking his multimodal journey from Amsterdam to Rome via Brussels. On the AWT website, Mr. Smith enters origin and destination addresses and defines his dates of departure and return. The system searches for different travel options combining air, rail and public transport and displays them according to different sort criteria. In this results page, Mr. Smith can sort by price, duration or number of stops and can unselect transport modes. Mr. Smith can then make his selection for outbound and inbound trips. As soon as Mr. Smith makes a selection, he can see his trip per leg on a map. He's now ready to book his trip. At the payment page, he can enter his credit card details. By clicking the Book button, Mr. Smith will purchase his ticket. Obviously, Mr. Smith receives an electronic ticket containing all trip details. He can retrieve his trip details on his computer or mobile device. Mr. Smith has been automatically subscribed to a passenger trip tracking system. This means he will receive a notification if there is any disruption during his journey and whether or not he needs to make alternative travel arrangements in order to complete his journey. In the live demonstration, AWT invited the members of the European Commission to experience the virtual trip of Mr. Smith.
So we just arrived in Amsterdam in the urban network.
As soon as Mr. Smith reaches the Amsterdam public transport system, he gains entry by passing his smartphone over the scanners that validate his ticket. He is recognized by the public transport smart ticketing application and his product, a multi-day pass, is automatically flagged as consumed.
It has been completed, so it's indeed inside the system.
Mr. Smith receives a service disruption notification from his trip tracking service.
The metro that was supposed to pass has just been suppressed, but it has no impact on my trip because the next metro will still assure that I will be on time on my station.
After the metro arrives at the Amsterdam Central Station, he receives another trip tracking text message.
We have a new message from AWT. The train is late 1 hour. There's still no impact on my trip, so I can go shopping.
Mr. Smith's integrated ticket was recognized and he is provided with a local token on his mobile phone for ticket control purposes on the train.
Welcome to this intercity service to Brussels. Can I please invite you on board this train service?
Scanning the ticket registers Mr. Smith's consumption of his rail travel entitlement in the system. Since travelling by air is already up to date with the modern travel standards, this leg in the journey was not simulated in the demo. Skipping the plane means Mr. Smith arrives at Rome Airport for the final urban transport segment of his outbound trip.
We are arriving by air, that's a nice airplane, to Rome city.
On the Rome public transport system, the token to enter and use the urban transport services is Mr. Smith's EMV contactless bank card, as already set up during the booking of his trip. Since it is an account-based ticketing scheme, Mr. Smith can check in by tapping his EMV card against the validation equipment. So basically, Mr. Smith can make his complete journey using only his mobile phone and his EMV bank card and doesn't need any printed tickets. Again, Mr. Smith is confronted with a service disruption. A delay of his return flight is affecting the return trip, and this time there is an impact on his itinerary, and he's advised to reschedule his trip on the AWT website. This represents the final proof of concept within the scope of the project.
So, congratulations for your first intermodal live trip. That's great. And we made it safe.
Mr. Smith and the EC members are invited to enjoy a nice Italian espresso in Rome.
The demonstration is trying to show something that's very important to us in the Commission, which is that we can actually join up in a smooth way that encourages people to use different modes to travel across Europe.
So AWT provides a first proof of concept of an integrated solution, and I think the benefit for the customer is quite obvious.
I mean, it looked to me like a system that would be pretty easy for somebody actually to use in practice.
Making sure that on the large scales, on large European journeys, this can actually be integrated, so it's a one-stop shop, it is simple for the citizen, will be a great asset. And again here I think we're making a further step into that direction, so it's extremely useful in that sense.
Concluding the Looking Forward presentation, the AWT consortium presented three main conclusions that are necessary to make this project a success in the future. Technology is crucial for facilitating the emergence of a single, integrated and seamless European transport system. Collaboration is fundamental for implementing the requisite technology that will enable interoperability in the travel supply chain and between transport providers. The European Commission has a critical and exciting role to play in enabling stakeholder collaboration and can facilitate the funding of cost-reducing technology as well as the identification of multimodal business opportunities. Much work is needed to bring the demonstrated concepts into practice, but it showcases innovation in digital transport and the benefits it creates. Increased efficiency in the EU transport system, smart mobility for EU residents and visitors, lower carbon emissions and decreased regional and city traffic congestion. This calls for further stimulus by the European Commission to overcome the remaining issues. The AWT consortium partners are ready to engage and contribute to future projects.